Talent Talk is sponsored by Company of Rogues Actors Studio, New York-style training for actors at all stages of their journey. With our part-time classes and full-time masterclass program, Rogues provides a unique post-secondary option under the guidance of working professionals. Mentoring and developing professional film and theater artists since 1993, Calgary's longest-running independent studio offers practical hands-on classes in a positive, supportive environment. Check us out at corogues.com. Company of Rogues, passionate about the art of acting.
Hey everybody, I'm Gary McLean and you are watching Talent Talk. Just a reminder that if you haven't done so already, please do go to the Talent Talk YouTube channel and subscribe today. As always, the support's appreciated. Secondly, just in case you didn't know, these episodes are available on podcast mediums such as Spotify, iHeartRadio, Google Podcast, Apple Podcast, just to name a few. If you'd like a full list of where you can actually listen to the show, check out the description details of this and previous episodes. Now, today's guest, she's out of Edmonton, Alberta, and was previously the VP of Development and Business Affairs for Mosaic Entertainment. And as of 2019, she founded her own production company, Fenix Film and Television, whose most recent production, Push, can be seen on CBC and CBC Gem right now. And I'm very excited to welcome Caitlyn Stewart to the show.
Hello.
Hey, Caitlyn. How's it going?
Good. How are you? Thanks for that intro.
Sure. Yeah, it was short and sweet, I guess.
Yeah.
So you're in Calgary right now, but you've been kind of traveling back and forth between Edmonton, I take it, and Edmonton. But you're based out of Calgary, I believe, right?
Correct. Yeah. I made the move to Calgary at the end of 2020, and not shortly after. Well, I guess it was end of 2021. Push got picked up. So it was kind of the universe's little twist that it threw at me. So I ended up, commuting back and forth between Calgary and Edmonton. Pretty much for the last year, I've been doing that a couple times a month.
Okay. And when did you kind of get started, I guess, in the film industry in general?
I started just about 10 years ago. I was when I started in the actual industry, and I think around 2011, I went back to school. I went back to NAIT and took the radio and television program, and then graduated from that in around 2013 and started at a company called NAIT Productions. Yeah, so I started there, and I was their office assistant, and I think assistant to the producers when I left, and then just kind of continued to find opportunities where they were in Edmonton. And again, at the time, there was a NAID Prairie Dog who's since moved to Calgary, and Mosaic, which was the one you mentioned in the intro there. So just those were sort of the major players in Edmonton at the time. And I worked for all three of them in different capacities, primarily on the producing side, and then ended with Mosaic, as you mentioned, in there as their business affairs and development person, which was super valuable experience as I went sort of into my own company, because those are really the two areas I think that you need to have a good grasp on if you're going to have your own production company.
For sure. And was production something you like when you started 10 years ago? That was your goal from the start, is production or producing, I guess I should say.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm pretty I'm pretty sure from the very beginning I had sort of my sights on having my own company, and if I didn't know from the very onset, I knew pretty quickly once I got into the industry that I preferred to be on the producing side. I'd worked on a few sets, and I mean, God bless the people that do that full time. It's such it's tough work and long hours, and just I didn't think I could sustain that long term. So not, obviously on the producing side too, there's some long hours, but I found I could kind of pick my own hours a little bit more, and yeah, so just decided that that was where I think my strengths were, as well as sort of work more for me lifestyle wise.
I just find it very interesting that, as small knit as the community is, it's still very large. And I'm just wondering if you've kind of found how you find the networking portion of the business.
Yeah, no, I kind of find the exact same thing. And when I sort of in my earlier days, I guess I worked after an aid, I worked for Prairie Dog on Blackstone for a number of seasons. And and prior to that, actually, I did work on Tiny Plastic Men. So I went from an aid, I went into the production office at Tiny Plastic Men, and then from their production office to the Blackstone production office, and then stayed with Blackstone for a few seasons on the producing side after that. But it was literally like the crew from Tiny Plastic Men then went to Blackstone. Like it was just like a little, a family that just kind of moved across the road sort of thing, which is awesome. You get really close with the people that you're working with, and there's just sort of like an energy, I think, on some of our sets that doesn't exist. I've never actually worked on a set in another jurisdiction, but but that's my sense, is that even people who will come here on service projects, they always have good things to say about Alberta crews, and I think that's part of it, is that it is a bit of a smaller community, and so there's already sort of an existing synergy there. And then on the flip side, just like you said, I'll meet someone that I've never heard of or never, had never crossed paths with, and that always kind of blows my mind too. That you think after a certain amount of time, you think you've kind of everybody, but then you meet these new, whoever it is, up and coming people, or people who've been established for a really long time, and keeps it kind of fresh, I guess, in a way too. So you got kind of both things. You got the sense of sort of like I said, sort of family and people that you can turn to for whatever you might need at a given time, and then those new people too that come in and kind of surprise you.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
And when it comes to Phoenix, for example, so you started that in 2019. Did I get that correct?
Yeah, I kind of I was working for Mosaic at the very end, and they were very supportive of me sort of going on my own. So there was some time where I was still contracting for them and starting my own company. So it wasn't like I was full blown into it, but that's around that time was when I started making the transition into Phoenix.
Okay. And were you kind of the sole starter of that, or did you have a bit of a team or a couple partners to start that up with, or?
No, it's pretty much been me from the very beginning. I'm hoping to change that, especially after Push. For the first, how it started was I got a couple development advances for a couple projects, and I also am a writer. So what I did was I paid myself as the writer and producer on those projects, and was able to sort of drop all my other stuff and sustain myself in the company, just through the development project. So for the first couple years, it was literally just me, just doing development stuff. I would sometimes, if I got enough development money, I would hire other people, hire contractors to do various things. Like, for example, if I needed to do a demo, I don't shoot and edit and all that stuff. So definitely had to outsource those kinds of things. And then as the company, so some projects got picked up, and then of course you hire your whole production team. But on the Phoenix side, I'm still running a very lean sort of operation, and it's such a balancing act, because I don't want to take on too much, and I definitely don't want to it's a big responsibility to hire somebody and be responsible for their ongoing welfare, and making sure that they can live as well. So and then but I also am realizing at this point that it's sort of a crossroads for me and my company, in that I can't do everything. And I did get caught on my heels a little bit with Push, just at the sheer volume that had to be pumped out around the show. And we had a great crew and great people involved, but yeah, just strictly on the producing side, and all the deliverables and deadlines and things that happen around it, it was it was a bit of a beast for me, and I didn't quite have the infrastructure in place within my company to fully support that. So
Right.
that's kind of the next step, I think, for me and my company, is finding those one or two people who can support just on the company side of things, and not just on the production side.
Right. Well, hopefully, based on the success that you're kind of seeing with Push right now, that'll kind of give you that foothold to be able to do that. Hopefully. So, kind of pushing on to Push.
Yeah,
um,
yeah, good
let's
fun.
chat about that a little bit. So, when did this whole storyline kind of come to fruition? Who brought it forward to you? I guess. Um, how to get started? I guess.
Um, it started just before I moved to Calgary. So I was Edmonton based for my whole life, and for just when I started, Phoenix was in Edmonton, and it was the middle of the pandemic, and I think I just was kind of feeling a little restless. But regardless, like, I think, if you're doing it right, you're always looking for good stories, and on the unscripted side, great people to highlight and follow. And um, I saw Gill in Avenue Magazine's Top 40 Under 40, and I honestly approached her thinking we would do something small. I don't know why in my head I felt like something with like high impact couldn't be like a major network series. Don't know why, that was my mental block. But I just cold emailed her and asked if she'd wanted to go for coffee, completely expecting that she would just say no. Partly because um, Phoenix was even newer at the time. But now I know Bean, so I know she's a big fan of the universe and saying yes to everything. So so she said yes to coffee, and I mean, it just changed my whole perspective on so many things. Just that one coffee with her. I am an able-bodied person, and I was completely ignorant to the world of, just what it's like to be a person with a disability on both sides. Like, I learned so much about the challenges that bring. And then when I met Bean, her and I had, we had lots of parallels too. Like, I was single at the time. We were both dating. She's an entrepreneur, we were the same age. Like, there's just so many things. I was like, she's kind of just like me too, So that was also just an eye opener. So anyways, I left there knowing that she was amazing, that there was probably something there. I had no idea what it was. I was working with Sean DeVries, who is my partner on Push, on another project at the time, and he is that creative person that that was saying that broadcasters will want to see someone like if you're if you're a producer strictly, that they'll want to see someone who can sort of carry the creative. And he is that person. He has an amazing amount of experience on some very high level shows. And anyways, I just said, hey, I've got this woman. I think she's amazing. I think there's something there. Do you want to look at it together? And we did. And then we didn't, and he didn't, like, we didn't know for a while what it was going to be. We talked to Bean multiple times, just digging into her life and her world to figure out sort of what the angle could be. She runs a rehab facility called RIU, which it's a type of therapy that didn't exist in, I'm pretty sure, Alberta until she became paralyzed, and she wanted to access it and had to go to California and I think Saskatchewan and spend a lot of money in the process getting this therapy. So she brought therapy and started this rehab facility in Edmonton for neural recovery. So, I mean, even that in itself could have been a great story, a great angle. There's, tons of stories, both heartbreaking and the opposite that come out of just reuse. We kind of explored that. She's Indian. She lives with her family. She has a big, colorful family that could have been an interesting angle as well. But anyways, it came down to, she told us about this group of friends she has called the Wheelie Peeps. And the more she told us about them, the more we just wanted to meet them. And it felt like that was the best way to, because Bean in herself is an amazing person, has a lot to say, and has a very unique experience. But to bring on these other, ended up being 6 sort of more main cast, who also have their own unique experience with disability, and just totally unique people with different backgrounds. And it just offered this incredible opportunity to not just show one person's experience, but to show all these different perspectives. Yeah, that's kind of how the show was born.
Okay, I think that's a great segue into the trailer. If you're willing to have a look at that.
Absolutely.
Perfect.
We're not here to inspire you, and we're sure as shit not here to be pitied.
Who we are is no concern of yours. We rise too far, not to shine brighter than the sun.
We're just a bunch of people on wheels, figuring life out and fighting for change.
Why do we have to pay a fee?
Thank God we have each other. Because once in a while,
Oh my God!
we all need someone to give us a little push.
I'm gonna fire it up, take it down, I'm never gonna stop. We're rising from it, rising again. Take it down, gonna stop.
Whether you got legs or don't have legs, that don't mean shit in life.
Having this really awesome group of friends who completely understand has been the biggest blessing.
The concert is my chance to go back on stage.
The last time I played was 5 years ago.
Look at your belly.
I'm about to have a baby any day now. It's crazy.
When I get told no, you go watch this.
Whoever packed that is a brain dead. Oh no, Nikki. The steam from the pot went on my pants, and people think I actually peed my pants because people assume that people in wheelchairs do that all the time.
I'm going back into the dating pool, and I'm afraid people have been peeing in it.
I'm making Joe do a sex positions video. Ah, that's doggy style.
He is ticking the boxes, yes.
I had a dream that I went down the catwalk, I made it to the end, and I rolled off.
Look at that smolder.
I want to show people I can do anything in the world.
Queen bee, don't you forget it.
I'm satisfied with me.
We will always have challenges in our life going forward.
Able-bodied people don't know shit.
Stresses just keep piling on.
I am very nervous.
It's not working.
It's been the shittiest of shit days.
I think it's time that I go back to Vegas. A big part of me doesn't want to go back to the place that took my legs. It's scary, man.
First time in my life I'm having to take no to heart. Sucks.
Let me ask you a hard question. Do you see this working with you and Brian?
I'm just ripped apart.
Sorry, babe.
I don't know what I'm gonna do.
I am scared shitless.
I'm proud of you.
Brittany's first ride.
Incredible.
Having a group of friends like this helps me be courageous because we have to face our fears.
I know I've watched it a couple times now, and my weakness, like, as I was watching it, I almost hate to admit this, but I'm not a super empathetic person.
Mm-hmm.
Which I kind of should be if I'm an actor, but anyway. But the one thing that always gets me is when a big man cries. So
Yeah.
I'm watching the trailer and I'm just like, as soon as it gets to him and he starts to break down a bit, all of a sudden the tears start welling up and I'm like, holy crap. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, there's a really good story there, I think, and I think it'll really grab attention to people. And I find there's a bit of a trend there with trying to break that whole stigma of people with
Mhm.
disabilities and things like that, which I think is great.
Mhm.
It's like mental health. We've been trying to break that down for numerous years now. I think these are all great things, so I'm hoping that push will continue that trend of um, breaking the barriers. Um,
Yeah, absolutely.
and I think the trailer just portrays that fairly well. And how many episodes per season, if you don't mind me asking?
It is 8 episodes, for season 1 and with a bonus episode. So the first 8 episodes are, for broadcast and then stream on Gem, and the ninth episode just lives on Gem.
Okay. And they're like fully available now. It's not that they're being released once a week or anything.
No, they are being released once a week. I this is terrible, but I can't quite I'm not exactly sure when they're dropping them on Gem, but, a new episode every, Friday at 8:30, on
I see.
broadcast, and then it streams on Gem.
Okay. And just out of curiosity, like, have you actually received any feedback from people that have seen it or anything like that, and what their thoughts were on it or anything?
Yeah, I mean, I've heard number of things come down through the grapevine to me. Most of it is positive, which makes me wonder if people are just only telling me the good things. But social media doesn't lie. That's for sure. So we've had mostly, honestly, positive comments, and lots of sort of gratitude for putting something out there like this that hasn't really existed before on from both the able-bodied community and the disability community. Because I think people who haven't had experience with people with disabilities or don't have someone in their life that's a person with a disability, it's just very eye-opening. And so yeah, so we've got some thank yous on that side, and then I think the disability community just has, in general, felt represented in a way that they haven't, maybe previously. And then there is some feedback, that's not, and we knew we would get this as well, which is, it is a major milestone, I think, in terms of having people with disabilities on a show that's a major network, on a major network, and during prime time. So the platform is I think probably the biggest that they've had in Canada so far. But we don't we don't represent every disability experience, and so I think there's still work to be done there to represent a wider net of people. But so yeah, there's been some feedback that either the people on screen don't represent someone's specific experience, which is fair enough. We didn't really, we knew that wouldn't be the case, that we did have as much of a spread as we could in terms of the people that we had on camera. But yeah, there's still going to be those few that aren't represented in our show.
For sure. I think it's kind of unrealistic to expect, full coverage, because there is so much out there, right? Varying conditions, whatever the case may be. But that's what multiple seasons are for, to start to cover some of that other stuff. So.
Yeah. And hopefully it's the start of something, like we're the first in Canada to do it at this on this sort of level and platform. But yeah, hopefully it's a door that's open now for other stories and other people to just be represented in this way.
Okay. And just for a couple questions, because I do like to add some learning questions, if you will, because part of
Sure.
the idea of the program is, if people breaking into the industry have questions, So one of the questions I have is, if you have advice for an up and coming producer or somebody who wants to get into producing, you have any suggestions or recommendations on how they would proceed with that?
Yes. I mean, I definitely have had my own path, and I know there's different ways to go about that. Probably all depending on your specific skill set. But yeah, for me, I just put myself in front of other companies that were doing what I wanted to do, and was kind of willing to start anywhere in order to get that experience and to do that. I will say, like, having worked for some of the larger companies in Alberta, I was surprised at how few people reached out for whatever it might be, just to say, "Hey, I'm here. I could volunteer," or if, "Do you have anything available?" There was, yeah, very, very little of that. So that would be, I think, probably a great place to start, is just to reach out to a company or someone who's doing what you hope to do, and offer what you can and learn along the way. And then there's other people who, they just want to work on their own stuff from the very beginning, and start with, smaller projects like shorts and things like that, and then work up to whatever it is that you want to be doing. But just do it, I guess, is my is my advice. I don't know if that's great advice, but
Yeah, no, I think that's fair. And
mhm.
actually, my follow-up question, I think you kind of were touching on anyway, which was, if somebody was looking to get something off the ground, whether it be a short or whatever, what would you recommend as a starting point to get going on that? But like you said, kind of do it. I mean, there are um, grant systems that are available, but I find they don't always work the best, especially for somebody who is quite fresh. Um,
Mhm.
so yeah, I don't know if you have a different take on that, but
Well, I never really did that myself, so I'm not super familiar with the ways to get a short done, other than, obviously there's TELUS, and there's definitely some grants, and there's some programs, like, specifically through CBC for shorts. So there's lots of different ways to get those made. If you don't have, like, and if you do have the tangible skills, like to shoot and edit and do all that, you can also just do it yourself and not wait on funding. But yeah, for the larger, if you wanted to do something more long form and bigger budget, I would say just find a partner. If you have something that you want to pursue and make, then and it's, yeah, a little beyond your experience at that particular time, to find a partner that will work with you on it. Because I would say too, for me, in Alberta, there's so much great things happening here and so much talent, but it's a smaller market, and so there wasn't always the opportunity to um, to stay with a company and sort of just, like, work your way through logical steps, as someone else might in a larger market work for, like, a big company, and just work from assistant up to whatever executive producer or something. But so I think that's another reason why partnership has been important for me, and also bringing on people to your projects who might have more experience than you in certain areas. So if I guess my advice is, if you aren't working for someone who can teach you some things, then you can always hire or partner with someone who has more experience than you in a certain area, and learn that way. And that's definitely something I've done. So we mentioned Mosaic earlier, and the executive producer there, Eric Rabalkin, he's been a consultant on both of my two projects. So he's still someone that I reach out to and get advice on different things. And I mean, you're always learning anyways, I think. So yeah, just to have an extra mind and someone who's been through it all, and can, run through 100 different scenarios with you
right,
is really, really valuable. So yeah.
perfect. Oh, that sounds good to me. On that note, I think we'll kind of wrap it up. I want to thank you for taking the time to sit down with me, for sure. And I'm glad to hear that Push is getting some traction and seems to be gaining some success. So
Yep.
congrats to you and the entire team on that. I
Thank you.
was trying to get Bean as well to maybe be on the show, but
Oh,
um,
okay. Yeah.
yeah, I thought she'd be interesting to talk to. Um,
She is. Yeah.
but yeah, no, again, thanks for your time, and I wish you all the best for both Phoenix and Push. So thank you.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. Thanks for having
All right.
me on. Okay.
Great. And if you can just hang on for a few minutes, we'll just
Will do.
quit the recording. Thank you, everybody, and we'll see you next time.